Hey guys, I remember when I first started writing Hello Darkness, I was binge watching True Blood, and it sparked this idea that I wanted to explore. In the following months, I devoured every piece of writing advice that I could get my hands on. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, some of it I discovered on my own. But I basically wanted to share the writing advice that I found most helpful when I first started writing. I wanted to share these with you because if they help me, then hopefully they can help someone else. So the first tip I have them written down here, is to just start writing. I say this as a tip because I know too many writers who find themselves with this amazing concept, this awesome idea, but they get stuck in this brainstorming phase. Whether they're actually in that phase or they are afraid or they're letting fear or doubt block them from moving forward, I don't know. But I see it too much, and it's so sad because I know their ideas and I know they're amazing and I can't wait to read them. And obviously I know they don't owe anyone anything, but knowing what the ideas are, it just breaks my heart that they're letting whatever it is stop them from writing. So I think this is a very valid piece of advice because of that. And you just need to start somewhere. Whether it be a random scene in the middle, just start writing it down. The second piece of advice that I found once you actually get started is to not go back and reread what you already wrote, because you're gonna start fiddling with it and then 3 hours later you've completed a very awesome paragraph, but only one paragraph that was already written before. So it's very important, especially in first drafts and in your first book, to keep going. Keep the momentum moving forward and don't go back. The next piece of advice I have is to try new things. And this seems kind of obvious, but what I mean by it is don't think you're one way just because so-and-so does it this way, or because you don't think that you'd like it that way. I highly encourage you to try other people's tips and advice and just see if they work for you, because you'll really be surprised in the things that work for you. For example, I used to be a self-proclaimed pantser. And if you don't know what a pantser is, it's basically a writer who is a discovery writer, so they write without any outline or anything like that. They just write as they go and see where the story takes them. So I thought that was me when I first started writing Hello Darkness, and I learned after the second draft, which was a complete rewrite, and I had an outline with it, that was not the case. I need to have an outline, and I didn't believe that I did because I always hated doing them in school. But for me, an outline is not like the bullet points, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. For me, my outlines are kind of messy, but they make sense to me. So they're paragraphs, they're bits of dialogue, they're just the idea, the concept of the scene in my head. And it's really proving to me that this outline for my new fantasy project is going to make my process so much faster, just because I'm already seeing plot holes that I wouldn't have saw until I got to that scene. And that's not, for me, it's not limiting my creativity when I actually do start writing. It's just giving me a basic concept of what's happening there, and I'm still going to discover more as I'm writing. And that's what's really exciting about the process. And if you want to see a video of my outlining process, please go ahead and leave me a comment below, and I'll be happy to do one of those. once I finish up with this outline, which I'm hoping should be within the next couple weeks. So if you want to see that, definitely leave me a comment and I'll be happy to make that video. The fourth tip I have is for those writers who are brand new to writing and have not finished a project yet. Those writers who are just getting into it and don't know their process. And that is to stick with one project. I see often where people jump from one project to another project, to another project, to another project, and never finish any of them. And I think, in my observation, it's because they get to a part where it's hard, where it's not fun, where they don't know what's going to come next, and they don't want to do that because it's not fun. And then they go to another project, and then they get, because it's fun and it's exciting, and then they get to a part that's hard, and then they jump to another project. And you miss out on so much when you do that, because I learned in my experience that just from going from start to finish in one project, I learned so much about me, about my process, about writing in general, just from finishing a project from start to finish. From writing that first line to editing that last sentence to the best of my ability. And there's something to say when you actually finish a project or get it to the best that you can. And like I said, you just learn so much in that process that it's so valuable, and you really have to do the whole process to really get that. And then afterwards, if you can work on multiple projects if you think that you can handle it, like, that's fine. But I think for the first project you really need to focus on one and work on it from there. Number 5 is to join the writing community. I wish I would have done this sooner, because for some reason I took forever, like probably a good year before I even joined my first Facebook writing group. And that was really silly of me, because there's so many great groups. You can join on any platform that you like. There's a great writing community on Twitter. There's a great writing community on YouTube. There's an awesome writing community on Facebook. I'll link some of those below, because some of the groups that I'm in are awesome, including my own, if you want to come join us and hang out, on Write Warriors in Facebook. On Facebook, not in Facebook. So if you want to come hang out with us, and we talk everything writing, and I pose daily questions, and we get to know each other and our writing projects, and it's just really fun. There's some awesome people in there. If you're looking for beta readers, or you want people to critique your work, we have an awesome spot there if you want to come hang out. But one thing I will say, and this is number 6, is in these writing groups you get a lot of never always advice from people who have been in the community a lot, or they read the first article that came up on Google that says never do this or always do that. And I'm here to tell you that be wary of that, because never always advice isn't the best advice, because there's always situations that could be the exception to that rule. Now, they're good to keep in mind if you're first writing and you don't know why the rule is in place. So some of these things might be never use adverbs. So the ly words. Never start with your character waking up. Always, I don't know. I can't think of them right now. I didn't write them down. But there's so many, and you see so many people preaching these things. And guys, it's not always the case, and I feel like those people aren't always giving the best advice, because they're not explaining why that rule is there. So I think that's what's most important, is when you see a rule or some piece of advice that you get in these writing groups, make sure you go and research it yourself and take it from many different sources and kind of form your own opinion on that, because writing isn't a science. There are good structure and there are good tips to live by, but there's no hard and fast rules in writing, and that's what you have to keep in mind whenever you're in these writing groups. And it kind of drives me crazy when I see some of this advice. And anytime I give out advice, I try to give the explanation of why I think this is the appropriate advice to this person. But obviously, everything's subjective, and I'm no one in particular. I'm just somebody that wants to help other writers. So that is my main caution when you're going into writing groups, is be wary of the never always rules. These next few tips fall under that category of they worked awesome for me, but they may not work for you. So if they don't, go ahead and ditch them, but try them, because that's what you should do, is try new things. The next tip is to write shorter works first. Now, I'm not specifically saying short stories because they're kind of their own beast, but for me, I did write a short story first. It's in Opus 22, a rhapsody of short fiction, and I got that published. So that's what's really cool, is I got to work through the process with the editors and different things like that. So I started with that. I got to see a project from start to finish, even though it was a short. And then I moved on to my next project, which was about 30 to 35,000 words. And I got to go through my beta reader process and kind of develop that. And so I saw it from, from what I thought was the, from the first word on the page to the end process where I thought that it was good enough, to where I started to post it on my blog. I stopped because your first projects aren't good, guys. They're just not. And it wasn't good. So I took it down, and yeah. So I can hardly even look at it without cringing. So just be prepared for that too. The next piece of advice, guys, Google Docs. You guys, Google Docs is my jam. A lot of people love Scrivener, but Google Docs is mine. I love it. It does everything that I want it to do. I don't have to worry about saving it all the time because it auto-saves. I can use it on any device, including my phone, so I can sync all of the notes that I randomly think of during the day to my projects online. I can use it on any computer that has access to the internet or even offline. It's just fantastic. And then if my computer crashes, I don't have to worry about losing my documents, losing everything I just worked on, because it's all saved in Google Docs. I love it. It's seriously my jam. And then when you get to the feedback stage, you can easily comment in the document with your critique partners or with your beta readers. They can make comments right in the documents, and you can restrict what they can do. So they can suggest, or they can only comment, and it's the best tool that I have found for my personal writing process. You can also set it up so it shows the outline right on the side. You can do a full screen mode to eliminate distractions. I just love it so much. I can do a tutorial on how I use it if you'd like, but again, just leave me in comments if that's something that you'd be interested in. I just love Google Docs so much. And that was my #1 writing tip, really. The next tip I have is to use a timer. I think that it's called the Pomodoro Technique. But basically what it is you set a timer for a certain amount of time, so 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever works for you, and you only focus on one thing for that time. A lot of writers will use it for writing sprints, where you write for your set amount of time and you do nothing else, and then you check your word count at the end. I do that also, but usually lately, since I've been working on my outline, I use it mostly for tasks. So I'm only focusing on one thing during that 20 minutes, and then the next thing, then I'll take a short break, and then I'll do another set of 20 minutes and I'll work on, you know, a blog post or something. I have found that it is a huge productivity hack, and I hope that it helps you too. Last but not least is don't stress about your first draft. And what I mean by this is your first draft isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be you telling yourself the story. Its job is to be written and for you to have a canvas to work on. It's meant to be fixed. And I think a lot of writers get it stuck in their head that it has to be perfect, and then it gets hard and then they stop. But I'm here to tell you that it's so worth it to push through and finish that draft, and writing is such a rewarding experience. There are parts that you'll love and there's parts that you'll hate, but you just need to push through it, and you need to start, and you gotta push through the hard stuff to get the masterpiece. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos 2 to 3 times per week all about books and writing. If that sounds good to you, I'd love it if you would like, subscribe, and comment below. And if you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, don't forget to ring that bell. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Bye!